So for today's episode of A Drink with the Hurricane, we're going to talk about how important it is to have a detailed client intake form. This is A Drink with the Hurricane, the home care sales and marketing talk show that discusses all things growing your home care business. This form right here in my hand is a form that we actually used at my company, CareChoice, back in the day. And as you see, it's a 3-page, very detailed form. Now, many of us have intake forms that are very similar to this. And it asks basic information like height, weight, date of birth, address, some contact information. You always want to make sure you get 2 contacts, a primary contact and then a secondary in case of an emergency and we can't get a hold of the first person, the location of the client, where are they currently. Then you have in here, this is what I love, it was very detailed here, where we would actually ask about the status of the client. What was the current diagnosis? Like, why are they calling us for services? And as your marketing effort improves and you're getting referrals from hospitals and rehab centers, you're going to want to know that because you're dealing with a more medically complex client with greater needs. So with the greater hours, we want the 84-hour, 168-hour cases, but remember, with greater hours comes greater need, and so you want to make sure you know that. You also want to know about their pre-existing conditions. What is something that they had prior to? And if you think about it, the kind of client that you're going to be getting when you're talking to SNFs and hospitals and home healths and hospices, you're going to be getting patients that have 5 or more chronic conditions. So they may call you because they had a urinary tract infection and that's why they were in the hospital, but they may have congestive heart failure, COPD, high blood pressure, mild cognitive impairment, or MCI for short, and diabetes. So this is somebody who needs a lot of help, obviously, and a lot of monitoring and supervision. That's the reason why they're calling you in the first place. We ask allergies, mental status, hearing, speech, vision, socialization with the caregiver. This was such an important thing to ask, and the reason why I liked it so much is because you know the clients that exist out there. Sometimes they want people to wait on them hand and foot. Sometimes they want the caregiver to hover over them and yes, sir, how can I get you anything, sir? Or they don't want that. That's a big turnoff. They don't want to interact with the caregiver. So the caregiver comes, helps them with what they need, and then it leaves and goes in the other room and vacuums the floor, does a load of laundry, cleans the bathroom, and just keeps the place tight. Take out the trash, do the dishes, something of that nature, right? Because these are all the things our caregivers do. Do they want to cook with the caregivers? All of these things are all on here. Then obviously your services and your times. Now, one of the things that a lot of people don't do is a safety inspection. And at the bottom here, there's actually a checklist of areas that we used to go over, like checking the bathrooms, what are you looking for, checking if they need certain equipment recommendations. You want to write that in there. This is where your relationship with a DME provider will come in because you can recommend somebody. You can even call and coordinate the care for them if necessary. Know a good handyman who can install the grab bars. A lot of times the people will say, oh, I'm okay, I can use the towel rack. Well, think about it. A towel rack is made to hold a towel. So what's the weight max? 20, 30 pounds. If somebody goes to grab that who's falling, guess what? They're going to be on the floor with the towel rack and they're going to be hurt and in the hospital. So make sure they have proper grab bars installed. And that's just on the first page here. And I can go on and on, checklist of things that the caregivers are going to do, notes that you're going to add to the plan of care, notes that are not to be put on the plan of care, but for internal office use, like client daughter is a PITA, PITA, pain in right? So, you put that on there for your office staff to know. They put that little sticker on it or whatever. But all this goes in here. And then obviously on the back right here, there's your internal operational pieces of it, the processing, has the client paid? Has the client done this and that? Have they signed all of these documents? Your billing information, do they have long-term care insurance, etc. It's a very detailed intake, and I love this intake form, and we had everything that we needed to know about a client. Now, as I'm filling this out with the client, I was so thorough, and I was 10 times more thorough than my competitors, that as I'm sitting there filling this out, the families are sitting there thinking, wow, I never even thought to ask half of these questions, which led them to want to go with us for services, even though our rates were higher than everybody else's. Like, I'm always talking about increasing your rates to pay your caregivers. Our rates rates were higher than everybody else's. Were our margins higher? No, our margins were exactly the same. We just paid our caregivers more, which helped with the recruitment challenge. When everybody else was paying $10, $11, we're paying $12, $13. And when everybody else was charging $21, we're charging $23.50. So again, the higher wage the higher rates went to higher wages, which helped us with our recruitment effort. But again, to a family sitting there and they're hearing just how detailed this is, it led them to feel confident that we're going to take excellent, stellar, white glove care of their loved one, which made them want to sign up with us. Not to mention, I would show my intake form and my plan of care to my social workers, and if the families were impressed with it, you bet those social workers were impressed with just how detailed we were and how every I was dotted and every T was crossed, which led them to refer us again and again and again. And so this is why you want to have a very detailed and specific client intake form. Now, if you want this intake form as my thank you to you for watching A Drink with the Hurricane, you can click on the I icon right here, or you can click in the message below at the link and you can download it. So this way you can take a look at it, compare notes, see if what you want to add to yours. You can use it. It's my gift to you. So thanks for watching. God bless, and have a great week.